Most people say we die of old age. But after 75, that's almost never true. In fact, 99% of deaths come down to just 5 specific causes, and most of them don't happen overnight. They build quietly, over months or years, until it's too late. But here's the part most people don't realize. These causes are predictable, and that means in many cases, they're preventable. If you're over 65, or you love someone who is, this video could help you recognize the invisible threats and build the habits that protect you. Because living longer isn't just luck. It's often a matter of awareness. Threat number 1. Heart disease. The silent saboteur. Heart disease is the #1 killer of people over 75. Not cancer, not accidents. Just the steady, silent weakening of the organ that keeps everything else alive. And here's the cruel part. It usually doesn't make a scene. There's no dramatic collapse at first. Instead, it's quiet symptoms, brushing off a little chest tightness, blaming shortness of breath on just getting older, or mistaking fatigue for low sleep. By the time most people notice it, the damage is already underway. But here's what every cardiologist will tell you if you ask. Heart disease is largely preventable, even in your 70s, even in your 80s. It all comes down to what you do daily, especially with movement, food, and stress. Let's break that down. Movement matters more than intensity. You don't need to run marathons. A 20-30-minute walk 5 times a week can significantly lower your risk. It helps manage blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and keep blood vessels flexible. What you eat feeds or clogs your arteries. Focus on soluble fiber. Oats, apples, lentils. This kind of fiber helps remove excess cholesterol from your bloodstream. Avoid ultra-processed foods, excessive salt, and added sugars, even if your weight is normal. It's not about weight, it's about what your heart has to process. Stress is the quiet trigger. Chronic stress releases cortisol, which increases blood pressure and inflammation, both huge risks for heart attacks. You don't need to be zen, but you do need a daily outlet. 10 minutes of breathing exercises, music, light movement, even sitting quietly with your thoughts. These things reduce the load your heart carries silently every day. And finally, check in with your body. If something feels off, don't wait. Even a 15-minute visit to your doctor can change the trajectory of your health. Ask yourself, when was the last time I truly paid attention to my heartbeat? Not just physically, but emotionally. Your heart is working 100,000 times a day for you. Give it the support it needs to keep going strong. Threat number 2, falls, the beginning of the end. When people imagine danger after 75, they rarely think of falling. But the truth is, a simple fall can be the event that ends independence or life itself. It doesn't have to be a dramatic accident. Sometimes it's just a missed step, a slippery floor, a forgotten rug corner. But one wrong movement can lead to a broken hip, a concussion, or internal injuries that are much harder to recover from as we age. What makes falls especially dangerous isn't always the injury itself. It's the chain reaction that follows. A hospital stay can lead to bed rest. Bed rest can lead to muscle loss. Muscle loss leads to more weakness, and from there, things often spiral. In fact, many seniors who fall never return to the same level of activity. Some never walk unaided again. Others lose the confidence to move freely, which makes them more isolated and more vulnerable. But falls are not random. They're predictable and often preventable. The first step is awareness of your own body. Do you feel steady when you get out of bed? Do your feet lift when you walk, or do you shuffle? Do you find yourself reaching for walls or furniture? These are subtle signs your body may be compensating for weakness or imbalance. Strength and balance can be rebuilt, even later in life. Simple routines like standing on one leg while brushing your teeth, or rising slowly from a chair without using your hands, help retrain your muscles and brain to work together. Tai Chi and gentle yoga can also work wonders for coordination. Then there's the home. Most falls happen at home, not outside. Are your floors clutter-free? Are cords and rugs secured? Is your lighting bright enough, especially at night? And lastly, don't ignore your feet. Wearing unsupportive shoes or slippers, or neglecting foot pain, increases fall risk dramatically. See a podiatrist if needed. It's not vanity, it's survival. Falling isn't just a physical event. It's often the emotional turning point that makes someone feel old, broken, or dependent. You can interrupt that moment before it ever happens. And you'll thank yourself every time you move through your home freely, without fear. Are you ready for the next threat? Let's talk about what happens when your breath begins to fade quietly. Threat number 3. Respiratory illness, the breath you don't notice. It's easy to take breathing for granted. After all, it happens automatically. But after 75, that automatic rhythm becomes more fragile than most people realize. Respiratory illness is one of the top causes of death in older adults, especially pneumonia and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. And unlike heart problems or falls, this threat doesn't always give you obvious warning signs. It builds in silence, slowly, until one winter cold turns into something much worse. The reason it becomes so dangerous is because many older adults unknowingly shift into shallow breathing. It can happen from years of poor posture, lack of movement, or simply not expanding the lungs fully. As a result, oxygen exchange weakens, mucus builds, and the lungs lose their ability to clear themselves effectively. Even mild dehydration can thicken secretions and make the lungs work harder. Add in reduced immune function, and a simple cough can turn into a life-threatening infection within days. But this is also where small daily habits can become a form of protection. The first and easiest fix is water. Many older adults drink too little, and without enough fluid, your lungs can't stay clear. A few extra glasses a day can make a real difference in how well your body fights infection. Next is fresh air. Spending even 10 minutes outdoors daily helps ventilate the lungs, wake up the diaphragm, and improve mood, all of which support respiratory health. Then there's posture. Sitting upright, sleeping with proper neck support, and avoiding long periods hunched over can dramatically improve lung capacity. Your lungs need room to expand, and most people lose that space without realizing it. Finally, conscious deep breathing, even for just a few minutes a day, keeps your lungs flexible and strong. Inhale slowly through your nose. Feel your ribs move. Exhale fully. It may feel small, but it's powerful. When your breath fades, so does your energy, your clarity, and eventually your independence. Protect it while you still can. Let's keep going, because the next threat strikes fast and changes everything in an instant. Threat number 4. Stroke. The sudden shutdown. A stroke doesn't build slowly like heart disease. It doesn't give you a week to think about your symptoms. It arrives fast, without mercy, and often without warning. One moment, you feel fine. The next, your speech slips, your arm won't lift, or your vision narrows. And sometimes, there's no warning at all. Just a quiet disruption in the brain's blood supply that changes your life in seconds. Strokes are one of the most feared medical events in later life, not just because they can be fatal, but because they often steal function, memory, and independence all at once. And yet, many strokes are preventable. The real danger lies in the things you don't feel. High blood pressure is the single most important risk factor. But unlike chest pain or shortness of breath, high blood pressure doesn't usually announce itself. It sits quietly for years, slowly weakening arteries until one finally gives out. That's why regular monitoring matters, even if you feel fine, especially if you feel fine. Diet plays a role too, not in a trendy or complicated way, but in the basics. Too much salt, not enough potassium, a lack of magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, beans, seeds, and whole grains. These nutritional imbalances make blood vessels more reactive, more brittle, and more prone to rupture. Then there's sleep. Disrupted sleep, sleep apnea, and chronic insomnia all increase stroke risk. Because your brain needs rest just as much as your body, and when it doesn't get it, the entire vascular system suffers. The habits that protect you are simple but often neglected. Know your blood pressure and take it seriously. Eat meals that support your nervous system, not ones that inflame it. And treat rest as a health priority, not a luxury. A stroke changes your story in a second. It doesn't care how strong you were the day before. But what you do today, the quiet choices you make in your kitchen, your bedroom, and your routine, can keep that moment from ever arriving. And that brings us to the final threat. It's the one that creeps in the slowest, but robs the most if left unchecked. Let's talk about what happens when the mind begins to dim. Threat number 5. Cognitive decline. The mind slips first. Most people think cognitive decline begins with memory loss, but that's just the symptom we notice first, not the root of the problem. The real danger is deeper. It's when the brain stops adapting, processing, and connecting. When the lights are technically still on, but they're flickering. Cognitive decline doesn't just make you forget names or appointments. It changes how you move through life. You might hesitate more, react slower, lose confidence in your ability to make decisions. And that creates a ripple effect that impacts nearly every other system in the body. The most overlooked truth is this: cognitive decline actually increases your risk of death, even if your body is otherwise strong. It weakens your ability to follow medical instructions, recognize symptoms, or advocate for yourself. It increases fall risk, anxiety, and emotional withdrawal. And when the mind slips, people around you often treat you differently, which can lead to isolation and helplessness. What accelerates cognitive decline isn't always disease. It's often environment. Too much time alone, too little stimulation, too few meaningful conversations. The brain is like a muscle, and when it's underused, it shrinks. Sleep plays a huge role too. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired, it literally interferes with memory processing and cellular cleanup in the brain. Insomnia, fragmented sleep, and especially untreated sleep apnea are all linked to higher dementia risk. So what protects your mind? It's not crossword puzzles and vitamins alone. It's staying mentally and emotionally engaged. A conversation that makes you think. A walk that makes you observe the world. A book that challenges your assumptions. A sleep routine that honors your brain's need to reset. You don't have to solve math problems every day, but you do have to keep showing up for your life, for your relationships, for your own curiosity. Because when your mind stays sharp, everything else, your mobility, your health decisions, your sense of purpose, stays sharper too. Now that you've seen all 5 threats, let's step back and talk about how to tie them together into something that actually works, something worth living for. Now you know the 5 biggest threats that claim nearly every life after 75. Heart disease, falls, respiratory illness, stroke, cognitive decline. Not one of them is random. Not one of them is unpreventable. And not one of them has to define your story. The truth is, aging doesn't have to be about loss. It can be about agency, about making choices every day that keep you strong, aware, and alive in every sense of the word. None of these habits need to be perfect. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You just need to begin. One walk, one meal, one breath, one conversation at a time. So, here's your quiet challenge. Pick one of the 5 threats. Pick one habit that speaks to you and try it for 7 days. Write it down. Tell someone. Stick it on the fridge if you have to. But give your future self that gift, a small action with a long ripple. And if you found this helpful, consider sharing it with someone you care about. A sibling, a parent, a friend. Because most people don't know how close these threats really are until they arrive. You don't have to fear what comes after 75. You just have to meet it, awake, aware, and ready. And if you want more videos like this, ones that speak honestly about aging, health, and living with dignity, hit subscribe. We've got more coming. Take care of your body, protect your mind, live with strength, not fear. You're not done yet.